being gone for a week would mean that all the world's biggest gaming announcements are going to happen. This week, we've got new details on Grand Theft Auto 6, a new Legend of Zelda live-action movie announced by Nintendo themselves, Against the Storm, Caves of Cud, and more info from Blizzcon than you can shake a stick at.
I'm Nick, and this Sunday at our next tabletop gaming session, there will be a special guest, and I'm not telling Josh who it is.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I'm 60% sure life is just a Blizzard cinematic.
And I'm Andy. This is Video Game Tango. Ayo!
And we're back.
Hello.
So we're gone.
To space.
Yeah, we had a wee bit of a hiatus.
Yeah, just a little bit. But we come back bearing lots of news. Stuff actually happened.
Yeah,
like
things
quite
did.
a bit.
Events.
Now, we talked about BlizzCon happening in the last podcast. It did happen over this previous weekend, the November 3rd and 4th in particular. We will get to that soon, but there is other news, like other video games happened. It wasn't just BlizzCon. I will have all your Diablo 4 news, all your Overwatch 2 news. There is a ton of World of Warcraft news. I won't bore you with all of it. If you're here just for the WoW, stick around till the end. But we have some other stuff and some pretty big announcements that happened over this last week. So why don't we jump right into it, starting with Josh?
Yes. Fresh off the presses.
Ooh.
We have a big announcement. There will soon be a trailer for Grand Theft Auto 6.
Big announcement.
So not
It's
an
finally
actual
happening.
trailer, but Sam Houser has announced that in December, a trailer for GTA 6 will be officially released. So it is going to be our first official look at Rockstar's next big offering. Now, we all got a tawdry look under the dress last September. Y'all remember that?
Nope.
With that big, there was
the leak?
The leak.
Yeah, there's with
Gotcha,
the leak.
yeah,
There was
yeah.
a big leak. And of course, Rockstar was upset that people were seeing the game in that state before they were ready to let people see it. And everybody else was just excited because it meant that the rumors are true. Now, we've been waiting 10 long years since the last Grand Theft Auto release. Now, Grand Theft GTA 5, it has come a long way since its humble origins. Grand Theft Auto release, I think, 97. So
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. So it's come a long way since a game parents were unsure about to something that I now regularly have to face down an 11-year-old when I'm playing. What's exciting about Grand Theft Auto 6, besides it being a new Grand Theft Auto game, is the upgrades that we're going to get. Now, this is all, again, just rumors and talk around the proverbial water cooler. But we're looking at an upgrade as big as from GTA 5 to Red Dead 2. That's the kind of upgrade that we're looking at from Red Dead 2 to whatever this next offering is going to be. So I don't know if anything, like you said, other than a PlayStation 5 is going to be able to play the fucking game, but
It's going to be crazy.
I am so excited to see this first official look.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not terribly surprised that we're looking at that graphical of a leap, but here's the thing is like you triple the polygon count of Red Dead Redemption 2. Okay. I mean, it is going to look noticeably better in fidelity, but you also have to take in consideration that like going from the N64 or even from the PlayStation to the PlayStation 2 was a huge jump, right? And we are talking multi-generational leaps here because when Grand Theft Auto 5 launched, it was for the Xbox 360 and the PS3, not even the 4, right? So,
but even 10 years later, the graphics on this game hold up.
Yeah, they totally do. I mean, honestly, the game still looks good. If this game came out today, if you told me that GTA 5 came out today, I would not be surprised, right? Like the graphics still look good. It is There's a little bit, I think, to be worried about. GTA 5's release on the PC was not super great. Optimization there was a lot of issue with optimization. I have a feeling we're probably going to be looking at a kind of a similar issue this time. It was the same thing with Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
It had issues running on anything other than consoles natively, and even the consoles at the time, PlayStation 4 and even PS4 Pro, and the Xbox One series of consoles. Those struggled to maintain 30 FPS at 720p. So it wouldn't be terribly surprising to see like some kind of, we now have like resolution scaling done on an AI level, much more competent processors and GPUs, but with like AI integrated. So I wouldn't be surprised if they've got to pull some tricks to make it look really, really good and keep the load times to a minimum and that kind of thing. That said, I imagine it's probably going to look fantastic on the consoles that it launches on. I hope that it's really well optimized for a PC when they inevitably do a PC release. But I also wouldn't hold my breath. It usually takes Rockstar a few months to iron out all of the issues with any major release when it comes to the PC. So
Definitely.
I'm sure it'll be good at some point.
They generally do stick to it and eventually get it done.
Yeah.
But besides the visual upgrades, there's also been some, of course, leaks about how the police AI is upgraded. So they're not just going to tunnel of death run at you. There's actually going to be some tactics involved in how the police pursue you and what they're doing. So there's an upgrade in that. It is also pretty much confirmed that there is going to be the first ever mainline female protagonist character. So that's pretty cool. That's another first for Grand Theft Auto. So it's also exciting to see those developments coming out as well.
Can commit felonies in 2024.
Absolutely. Crime's the secret ingredient. It has been for a while.
That's right. Let's get to our first little bit of BlizzCon news.
Ooh.
So there was shared with us a little mini teaser for Diablo 4. They're releasing an expansion and a new season simultaneously.
Mephisto.
So it's going to be following Mephisto. It's called Vessel of Hatred. What we know so far is that it's a new season. It's a new expansion. It follows Mephisto, and it will be. It also is coming with a new class, one that they've never done before. So something that you've never seen in the first 3 Diablo games.
Tax accountant.
I'm not sure what that is so far. There's a lot of rumors out there in the rumor mill. Some more confirmed or better than the others, but a lot of rumors going on out there. It is not confirmed at all what the class is going to be.
I was just about to ask. Oh man, that's exciting.
Yeah, I know. But
it's Jake from State Farm. He's got godly khakis of the whale.
We can only hope. That is Diablo 4. Should be coming out in fall of 2024. So we still have like probably close to a year before we get that expansion. One can only hope that it does something like a Reaper of Souls did for Diablo 3.
One can only hope that nobody pre-orders it.
Well,
oh, sorry.
It's okay. Being a grognard.
Yeah, we'll see.
Reaper of Souls really kicked Diablo 3 up to 11. For me personally, it reinvigorated the game. So
well, it also was the launch of Diablo 4 on console. It just happened to coincide together. So I mean, sales went crazy for Reaper of Souls, but they did. I mean, part of that was the fact that they put it on, the current console generation and got it in the hands of a bunch of people that weren't previously able to play it. So, but Reaper of Souls was pretty universally praised as saving Diablo 3. So
definitely,
yeah. So I mean, Diablo 4 in its current state, maybe Vessel of Hatred can do something similar. We'll see. Time will tell there. But we'll know probably in about a year. The next little bit of news is Overwatch 2. So along with a new season coming in December, we're getting a new hero by the name of Mauga. It is the first Samoan hero to debut in Overwatch.
Cool.
Mauga features a kit that is designed to bash through the front lines and brawl his opponents in close quarter combat by wielding 2 powerful chain guns that can either be fired individually or in unison, ignite enemies with his incendiary chain gun, Gunny, to burn them when they take enough damage, then finish them with a critical hit from his volatile chain gun, Cha-Cha. paired with his Berserker passive, which grants Mauga temporary health whenever he deals critical damage. He's a mountain on the battlefield. That comes directly from Overwatch 2, but Mauga is meant to be a tank. One of his, a couple of his abilities are he's got a charge that temporarily stuns opponents. He also is able to cast a circle that will trap opponents in the circle. They cannot leave. No damage can come inside the circle. No damage can leave the circle. And you are literally face to face with the enemy tank.
So Odin from Smite.
Well, I'm not surprised. I haven't played as much Smite as you, so I don't know. But probably. I mean, I imagine you can probably draw inspiration from a lot
There's
of
only
different
so many
games at
abilities
this
you
point.
can make in an arena shooter.
Yeah. So his abilities are probably going to be similar to characters in other arena shooters, but new to Overwatch at the very least. So it is also nice to get a new tank character, a new tank class, being that, we've got lots of support and damage classes in more recent releases for Overwatch 2. So, and cool to get some Samoan representation. The guy looks fucking beefy and badass and has two chain guns. No complaints there for me. I mean, it is still Overwatch 2, so
So major complaint there from
I was gonna say
It's a shame he's not in any other game.
right. I mean, because he legitimately looks like he could be a really fun character.
Those
class to play.
famous close quarter weapons, Gowade Avengers.
So, it is what it is right now for Overwatch 2. They are releasing a new season. We do know that it's hard to call it turmoil happening in the Overwatch 2 dev space, but they are shaking things up. It looks like they're bringing in more developers recently, and they've got Big Daddy Warbucks Phil Spencer starting to throw money at him. So we'll see what comes from that too. That was really all that came for Overwatch 2 is the new hero and the announcement of a new season. Those come out, I believe, December 7th.
I really want to be fucking excited about Overwatch because for a hot minute there, Overwatch was the only fucking game I liked. And you know what? I can forgive the skins. I can forgive the skins thing. Stop making people pay for the fucking characters. Give the people the characters like you fucking used to do. Give them the characters. And the skins is forgivable. Whatever, let me earn a pittance every once in a while. What the fuck ever. That's fine. But give me the characters. Don't limit. Like, I can't even be excited about that guy because if I reinstalled the game, there's no fucking way I'm going to pay the $15 to fucking get that guy. Like, that doesn't. No. It doesn't make sense.
Denial, anger. Josh is going through the stages of grief.
Sorry.
Here.
Anyway,
So, you don't need to apologize.
But I mean, like, it looks cool, and I want to be excited about it.
Yeah.
And I could be if they would just give me the character. I could give a shit about the skins. I'll play in his release skin. I don't give a fuck.
Now you're a little bit more learned on this. In order to gain levels in the battle pass, do you have to have paid for the battle pass?
Me?
Yes.
So I played the first season, and no, you didn't have to pay to earn levels in the battle pass. But the amount that you have to play in order to get that stuff is ludicrous. Like, it's virtually undoable working a job and having any sort of like perfunctory life bullshit you have to deal with.
Now, is battle pass typically 100 levels?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm reading here that you'll be able to unlock Mauga immediately when you purchase the Season 8 Premium Battle Pass, or you unlock him when you reach Tier 45. Do you think Tier 45 is more reasonable?
That is a little more reasonable. Again, I played in the first season, so I don't know what the point. I can't the first season of Overwatch 2.
They're dick thumbing us. They gave us
totally.
awful option.
That's definitely, it makes it seem reasonable.
Middle ground.
But I legitimately don't know. So this is a real question for Josh.
My information on that is I feel like it's dated. I don't feel like I can give an accurate response. It didn't seem reasonable at the beginning. I don't know what.
I remember, I don't remember specifics, but Overwatch 2 came out, and I sat down and I played it quite a bit for about 3 days. and I made negligible progress in the battle pass.
Okay.
It would have taken months at the pace I was playing to be able to finish.
But the thing is
pass
I've
and get the
played
character.
I've played the battle pass model in lots of games. I've played it in Rocket League. I've played it in Apex. I've played it in Modern Warfare, Warzone. I've played it in a lot of places, and I have never in any of them felt like I've made, like, even Rocket League, when I was going hard in the paint on Rocket League, unless I paid for the battle pass, which, I mean, you know, you make one purchase and then you can essentially, if you keep up, you could just, it just pays for itself after that. It really does. Like, a moderate amount of playing after buying one battle pass will kind of keep you in it as long as you're playing the game. I don't know that it's the same for Overwatch or anything like that. Definitely that way for Rocket League. Definitely that way for Apex. But the point is, like, if I don't pay for it and I play 3-4 hours every day for half the season, I'm making maybe 20-30 levels, and I'm playing for 3 hours, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm making... if I play every day for 4 hours, I might get the character by the end of the season.
Gotcha.
Just doing it, you know?
So dick thumbing.
Dick thumbing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I legitimately wanted to ask because I don't know how long it would take to get to level 45 in a battle pass. The only game that I've really played with a battle pass is Fortnite, and in multiple seasons I've been able to complete all of it for free. I have paid for the battle pass on a couple seasons, but the first couple were I didn't invest any money into. So, yeah, I was curious as how the cadence would be, especially if they went from unlocking a tier 100 versus 45. You know, so it sounds like it's better, but like only arbitrarily and doesn't make that much of a difference. So, yeah, all right, well,
Yeah. So we tangented just a little bit there, but
oh, that's fine. We're still talking about Overwatch.
yes.
But that's it right now for some BlizzCon news. We'll be back with that in another few minutes. Nick, you want to talk to us about a couple games?
Yeah, a couple games. I was recently getting back into some of the indie games that I haven't played in a while, and I was thankfully reminded of, especially in a few cases, how some of these games have such a tight bond with their community that their patch updates and patch notes and the changes they make to their games are not only frequent and reliable, but heavily based off of their player base's feedback.
One of them was dedicated to you. This one's for you, Nick.
This one's for me. Yeah, actually, I have a thing. I'll get back to that later. But recently, I jumped back into Against the Storm. It's been maybe roughly 9 months to a year since I last played it. And this game has added and or tweaked almost as much content in that time that they had from essentially when the game came out to when I stopped playing it. I forgot how much I loved this game, and I forgot how much this game, just the mechanics and the gameplay are so tight. Every little lever you pull on this game is attached to everything else. And not only is it super novel in a good way and super unique, it's a real-time strategy game that is also a roguelite. With the new content they add, they're just multipliers. One new race means a lot more than you would expect because of how that race interplays with all the mechanics in the games. They added these corrupt fox creatures that are affected by the blight from the storm, and they have special ties to it. The setting of the game is fantastic. They call it Rain Punk. I love the setting so much that, like, I've literally toyed with the idea of running a tabletop role-playing game in this setting because it's got some really cool ideas. And the most fantastic thing, not only is the music great, but the set and setting and the stylized look and the music all combine to make this very, very tense game where I literally at times feel like I'm almost in first-person shooter levels of attention and stress and focus. Yet there's no combat. The game doesn't need it. You have events, and these events, everything's on a timer. So, like, as you're playing a real-time strategy game, you have a real time to figure out how to pull all the correct levers to make sure your people don't go mad or die or get lost in the woods or taken by creatures in the dark or piss off the queen. Don't let that happen. And it's been an absolute blast. Looking back at their patch notes, they show not only how many changes they've made, whether that's bug fixes or content addition, but what percentage of those have been suggested by their community. At bare minimum, it's almost always 80%. They are not making just out of left field changes like certain Starship Troopers games. They are listening, and it is working out well. Sometimes you listen to your community too much, Blizzard, and your game goes all over the place until you learn that you can't do everything your community wants.
Yeah.
But because this game is so tight and narrow in its focus and goals, and the player base knows that, they're not trying to make a game that isn't the game that they're making, right? And I love it for it. The second game has been around almost longer than those 11-year-olds screaming at you in GTA. But I wouldn't know it. Like, to me, this game still feels fresh and new. This is Caves of Khud, if you will.
Yes.
This is the most honest, truthful, laid-bare, surrealist LSD trip of a game that exists. On its surface, think Weird West, right? Spaghetti Western with magic and psionics and fantasy. You're just beginning to scratch the surface. You play as a single adventurer. It plays like a old school roguelike game. You're traveling the world doing quests and exploring things. But the game came out in 2014. And almost consistently, this game has been getting an update every single Friday since. Roughly 80% of Fridays in the last 9 years has been getting bug fixes and content addition. It is up there tied with Dwarf Fortress and other games for level of depth. I looked up just a recent post. Hey, what characters have you guys been playing recently? What builds have you been trying out? This guy's been playing a mutated human with burrowing claws, night vision, web spinnerets, multiple arms, and double pairs of muscles. Another guy is playing a Yeti with psionic spontaneous combustion abilities and freezing breath. Another guy is a genius gunslinging tinker that drinks potions that allows him to enter the fourth dimension. These are basic abilities in this game. There are 74, I believe, of these mutations that you would consider like classes or abilities in other games, but they're not +1 to strength. You can see the future, or you can enter the past and redo time. It's off the wall crazy. You think of exploring in a video game as like you explore to find the content. Exploring in this game is so much of the content you don't realize till you play it. Like, I just found a bunch of goblins and they're all mind linked. And if one of them buffs one, they all get buffed. But if I blow one's head up with umbral powers I got from eating a reed grown out of the soul of a giant's dream, then they all die. And that's like the first hour of gameplay. And it's one of those games I think everyone should experience. It is not for most people. But this is just an example of what games could be if you devote a decade to them without failure, right? So I just wanted to hype up these games because they're worth playing. Caves of Khud recently signed up with Kit Fox Games as a publisher, same people who are publishing Dwarf Fortress, to finally bring it into 1.0 release. Yes, it's been in early access for 9 years next year. And I guess I have to wait. I'm going to make myself wait because I'm playing Against the Storm and some other stuff. But once this comes out, I'm going to lose a good chunk of my life to it.
It looks and sounds incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big ups. Big ups. Well, we have another big ass announcement coming up. I'm going to change the order on you right now, Josh.
Okay.
We're going to go back into BlizzCon because I think this is the lamest of BlizzCon news and it deserves the middle of the show.
Perfect.
Hearthstone. There's a new expansion coming out for Hearthstone called Showdown in the Badlands. It is a Western themed expansion. New cards, new sets, blah, blah, blah.
They missed a huge opportunity to call it Down Bad in the Showlands.
Oh, shit. So deep in the heart of the Badlands, the Bloodrock Mining Company has struck gold, or rather, something even better, azurite. Now they're double timing their mining, bleeding the land dry, and putting everyone in the Badlands at risk. Mysterious heroes come on horseback to set the town right, but the corrupt sheriff barrel brims stubborn as his hat is tall. It's time for high noon in this showdown in the Badlands. Some
Wouldn't it
key
be great
features.
if he had like a 2-inch tall hat? He's not
The
stubborn
smallest
at
hat.
all. He's totally fine.
Some new key features are keyword quick draw. In the Badlands, being quick on the draw might just save your hide. Cards with a quick draw keyword get a special effect. On the turn, they are added to your hand. Shoot off cards as soon as you draw them or plan around the quick draws with bounce and generation effects. Another keyword, excavate. Cards with the excavate keyword get your treasures from the Azurite mine. Each time you excavate, you dig deeper and find rare treasures. There are also sketchy townsfolk. The entire town is digging deeper and deeper into the mines looking for Azurite treasures. Townsfolk classes have extra excavate synergies and a unique reward for their excavations. The corrupt sheriff barrel brims behind the operation, and he doesn't care what damage they do to the Badlands or what they might awaken. And it also comes with new heroes or new cards called Heroic Outlaws. Sometimes it takes an outlaw's intervention for folks to start straight shooting. Some classes brought an outlaw to the showdown in the Badlands. Those lone gunslingers have extra effects if there are no duplicates in your deck. So what do you say? Are you feeling lucky? Hearthstone Showdown in the Badlands is available to play on November 14th of this year.
You know, it's a little surprising that after all the PR problems Blizzard recently had, they added corporate mining towns into their games.
Well,
Well-
yeah, that's not out of pocket for Blizzard. I'm just saying. Next up on the list is Warcraft Rumble. It is a mobile action strategy game set within the Warcraft universe where collectible minis come to life to battle in frantic melee skirmishes. Play in multiple modes, including the single-player campaign, going head-to-head in epic PvP battles, and more. Experience the true meaning of joyful chaos, which is something that they said during the show a lot.
We're activating Joyful Chaos.
So,
It's an activation campaign.
so Nick, you played a little bit of it, right?
I did.
Yeah. Now, to me, it looks like there are multiple game modes, and when I was watching the panel, it was really hard for me to parse what they were showing me because they were showing off essentially like, 3 seconds of a game here, 3 seconds of a game here, 3 seconds of game here, and for me, it looked like they were showing off different game modes, and I couldn't nail down like what this game really is. Is it tower defense? Like it looks like the core game mode looks pretty tower defense-ish.
It is. Excuse me if I get my phone games incorrect. It's Clash Royale.
Okay.
You have certain heroes, and they cost a certain amount of mana, and your mana just regenerates in real time. And you spend that mana to summon a hero, and they move down a lane. That is the basics. That is how Clash Royale works, and that's how Warcraft Rumble works. It is very Warcraft coded. The maps and the units and the abilities. There were some minorly neat features, like they had like you could change the lanes of your hero by clicking on a sign to like dodge rolling barrels from an opposing ogre in the tutorial, stuff like that. But the game in the tutorial and the 3 or 4 matches that I played didn't show me anything that doesn't already exist in a lot of mobile phone games, other than it's Warcraft themed. So if you like Warcraft, if you like Clash Royale, give it a shot. It is free. I'm sure the paywall will wait patiently
Yep.
for you to hit it. But you might have fun until then. So.
For sure. Basically, like, it looks like there are 5 factions: Alliance, Horde, Beast, BlackRock, and Undead, with more to come. But like
BlackRock, like the mercenaries or the finance company.
No, BlackRock, like the BlackRock clan of dwarves.
It's kind of the same thing.
It's kind of, to be honest. Yeah, there's some similes to be drawn there. But some of the heroes are like Tyrion Fordring, Gramash Hellscream, Hogger, General Dracasath, that son of a bitch, and Baron Rivendare, also son of a bitch. I still don't have that fucking mount in WoW. One of the coolest things that I gleaned from the entire thing, because I don't play mobile games, like, ever. The last one I played was Hearthstone in beta. So it's been a long time since I've really got down to playing a mobile game. So for me, it just doesn't press any of my buttons. But something that I thought was really cool is they did release all the 3D printing instructions up on their website, I think that's super cool, especially considering that the game is
3D printing for all their character models.
for all the character models. Yes.
Yeah.
So because the game is, it's literally, they are Warcraft minis. You're playing. It's a meta game for World of Warcraft. and that they made them.
but they are minis.
Right. And but I think it's super cool that that they give the instructions or the the models so you can make them on your own if you've got a 3D printer. And being able to paint that and maybe even play it out or just for collectibles. That seems fun.
Yeah, make your own Warcraft game.
Yeah.
With blank and blank.
Yes. So on the tail of that, we will have Warcraft coming later in the show. But for now, we want to talk about Josh, why don't you take us there?
Yeah, it's some news that's hot off the presses. It's been talked about a lot of times, rumored that it's finally happening. It was on Netflix right for a second.
Yeah.
Knack 3?
No.
Oh.
Live action Zelda.
Oh.
Bum, 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 bum.
I legitimately
Remember,
forgotten.
for a hot second, Netflix was going to do a Zelda show, and then that just didn't happen. Well, Nintendo is saying, no, it's happening. It's happening now. But instead of on Netflix, they're going to be pairing up with Sony and releasing a live-action Zelda movie. Now, the production company that's going to be leading the charge on this is Arid Productions. I'm not sure if I'm
Arid.
Sure. I should have trusted my gut, man. I had it. Now, this production company has been credited recently with films such as Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Homecoming. So they've already done some mashups, some pair-ups before. They also have Morbius, but we're gonna we're gonna let the undead vampire slide, or let that one slide. There's a lot to be excited about this. There is an excellent director. Wes Ball is known mostly for the Maze Runner trilogy. Now, I saw 2 of those movies, and they were pretty all right. But he's also directing the upcoming Planet of the Apes, and that I mean, I'm very excited about that. Where I'm a little concerned is the writing. Now, the writer is Derek Connolly, who penned Jurassic World, which I don't know if anybody remembers the dialogue from Jurassic World as being a knockout or not, but I don't know. There's a lot to be excited about here, but for me, there's even more to be worried about. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, to be honest, I don't think this needs to exist. I think getting more Zelda is cool, but I think this is probably the weakest form that you could put Zelda in. That said, maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. At the end of the day, it is a classic guy saves a princess story, and it always has been. And the only thing that makes Zelda interesting at all is its gameplay. So to see that played out on a screen, I don't think really does anything for me. I think the key to Nintendo games in general is they've got solid gameplay. Mm-hmm. That said, Super Mario the Super Mario movie came out more recently, like last year. And I did watch that just a few weeks ago, and I thought it was great.
Yeah,
great.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was clever, fun. We explored a new dimension of color, and I thought it was a lot of fun.
When I first saw this announcement, I thought that's what they were doing, was in that style. Like it was, I didn't see that it was live action right away. I thought it was a Zelda. I was like, oh, cool, like the Mario movie. And I actually was pretty excited about that because I feel that that animation would suit it way better than something live action.
I don't know if I'd go that animation route because Zelda is something that has always been taken a little bit more seriously.
Wind Waker.
Well, dude, even Wind Waker, that had maybe some of the most mature themes of any of the Zelda games. So yes, it was done. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the style, stylistically speaking, yes, it was cel shaded, kind of cartoony, right? Very cartoony even. That said, it's always dealt with more adult themes than Super Mario does. And while it's not too adult, it's, their games are always rated teen or E, right? I think it requires a different artistic style.
I think what Legend of Zelda has going for it is that very quickly into its creation after the first handful of games, they essentially created a multiverse.
Yeah.
The trope that we now know and quote unquote love from like Marvels, right? There are all alternate universes.
Yeah.
Much like the Final Fantasy series, there are through lines between all the Legend of Zelda games, which is this literal triad of the Triforce and the three characters that represent them, and how their struggles and constant, eternal, chronic conflict carries through to new realities.
Yeah.
This is mostly meta knowledge. I think it's rare in the game for them to reference these things that they probably have.
Yeah, they don't.
But I think the best way you can make a Legend of Zelda movie, especially a live action one, is to continue that trend. They're not going to. Like after the Mario movie, they're like, okay, we need to do as many tropes and nods and winks and, Easter eggs as we can, because that's what made Mario money. But if they were to, like, kind of in the way, think of like when they do Romeo and Juliet in like modern day Chicago, right? If they did a live action deal, it doesn't have to be modern day, but don't, like we were talking about, don't base it off of one of the previous Legend of Zelda games.
Yeah.
Give it a new spin, maybe do it in the slight near future. Why not? Right? That's the whole point of Legend of Zelda is that, the through line is the main story, but the games always change.
Yeah.
The setting changes, that would be my preferred take on it.
I have a feeling that they'll do something fairly classic. It will be done in Hyrule. It will be essentially a mainline Zelda title.
They need to bring back the CDI voice acting. Well, excuse me, princess.
I actually just got, just the other day, I posted them in Discord. I just got done watching those.
Yeah.
Just the other day. I rewatched. I've seen them before, but yeah, they're up on YouTube and they are.
Yeah. Link technically does,
not good.
Josh, have dialogue, and it is the most misogynistic shit anyone has ever
Oh,
said.
yeah.
I was gonna say, wasn't there a Zelda cartoon at one point? Or
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
But there was
On
also
this-
a game with like shitty animated stuff with really bad voice acting
Yeah.
for the CDI, I think it was.
So, yeah, I believe it was for the CDI.
But I
it was
mean-
some CD powered console. Yeah.
But that does lead up. It's like Link's gonna have to talk in this movie. He's gonna have to say more than
And how do you play a silent protagonist well? Because one of the
Samurai Jack.
yes, fair. One of the things that has always been prominent in Zelda is Link is a tool of essentially being used by the gods. I mean, that is effectively what Link is.
The stand-in for the player.
He is a stand-in for the player, and anthropomorphizing isn't the right word, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. Link,
giving him human qualities.
yeah, giving him anything really at the end of the day is almost antithetical to how Zelda works. And for me, I think we just could have done without it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think there is any. There's a lot of video game properties that I would love to see movies. We were just talking about it before the podcast. Warcraft needs a fucking real good movie done by the studio that makes Warcraft.
Yes.
It's like imperative that happen in my lifetime. This is not the case with Zelda.
Nintendo.
Plus, we've
go ahead.
already wasted Anya Taylor-Joy on Peach and Mario. So, could she be Zelda too? Because I feel like she's that's who I want for live action.
Nintendo
Zelda.
needs to make a Metroid Prime movie.
Yes,
need to make-
that is my first choice.
They need to make an F-Zero mini-series, right?
Yeah.
And they need to make a Star Fox
Yes.
cartoon animated
Yes.
series.
Yes.
I want an HBO style F-Zero racing red line style 6-episode miniseries and 2 or 3 seasons of Star Fox as an animated show.
Yep.
And a hardcore live action or heavily CGI'd Metroid Prime movie.
Yes.
And I will die happy.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
I think those are the best properties that cater towards as far as mainline Nintendo properties. Those are the ones that need to be done.
Or Donkey Kong, but Adult Swim.
Sure.
Give
I
me
think you could make a
Space
good
Ghost
Donkey Kong
Coast
movie.
to Coast style show with Donkey Kong.
Yes.
Where he runs a podcast.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, totally. 100%. they made the Donkey Kong show that was late 90s for how bad it looks now. Looked great at the time, and it was fully self-aware, which is what made that show stand out.
Yep.
And it was fun, it was funny, and it made a lot of self-referential jokes and made fun of itself often. And something like that could be done again, but more cleverly, because all entertainment is better than that now. So Zelda, I think, is the last property I'd ever want to see, especially live action
It's dangerous.
movie of.
Yeah, the live action, I don't like the idea of. The other movie, if we're to talk about Nintendo movies, just real quick, would be Luigi's Mansion with a bit of a Ghostbusters feel
That's
to
great.
it.
Yeah, that'd be fucking
fun would that
awesome.
be?
That'd be a lot of fun. Zelda, for me, how do you build tension when Link fights his first Octorok in a live action Legend of Zelda? You can't do that.
All the enemies in Zelda,
Yeah.
regardless of the fidelity of the game, they are inherently cartoony.
Right. You could make a Lionel scary.
What's going to happen is they're going to make them not cartoony.
Yeah.
And then you get really weird stuff that's
Yeah.
not right. You can't make a fucking Goron not cartoony. It's like when they tried to make Ubold do those realistic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know how good the movies were, if they were great for kids, but they look so uncanny. It felt physically revolting. Of this is not how I grew up with the TMNT, right?
Yeah.
So
Dude,
I don't know.
To be honest, oh shit. That's
We can hear it.
one of the things that I hate most about the Ocarina of Time, the fan base, is that they keep trying to remake Ocarina of Time. So I'm sure everybody's seen this and everybody's heard of it, but there's a group of devs that are trying to make Ocarina of Time in Unreal Engine 5. And as much as, as a kid, I was like, seeing this game in just that much better graphics would be so awesome. It's not. It turns out it sucks. That's my opinion. But to be honest, this Unreal Engine 5 Legend of Zelda stuff that keeps coming out, because they keep showing new teasers, and the game is available to play, but the game looks like shit. I'm sorry, this is not what I want to play.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was a product of its time, and just throwing a new coat of paint on an old game does not make it fucking good.
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time 3D was great because they just increased the pixel count. They added the 3D, the fun of 3D on the 3DS. That was neat. But just throwing it in Unreal Engine 5 and being like, this is realistic grass, doesn't make the game look good. It just doesn't.
Also, this is imperatively important. New generation of people who haven't experienced this yet. Stop making fan content based off Nintendo properties.
Yeah.
They will see your grandmother from the grave.
Yep.
Right. You can't do this without them shutting you down before you finish the project.
Yeah. Now,
Complete side note, but I'm saving you the trouble.
As much as this high fidelity graphics looks, I don't think it does anything for the fucking game at all.
This looks like an Unreal test demo.
Yeah, it does. Every single video that they put out looks like an Unreal test demo. Yeah. And it's just, for me, it is not impressive. The work behind it, great job. But the end product is not something that we fucking need.
This.
Yeah. So just throwing a new coat of paint is whatever. Yeah. Now, as far as fan projects go, something to be excited about is the Ship of Harkinian. You guys know about that?
Nope.
No.
I know about the Ship of Theseus.
So I haven't figured out how to get it to work, but somebody re-engineered the game to work natively on Windows. So no emulation layer. There's no emulation involved. Super neat. It's been it's growing in the speedrun community and in the randomizer community big time, because you can just build that into the game now that it is the repositories on GitHub. You can it's awesome. Gotcha. So that is a fan project that I think is incredible. And so far, Nintendo seems to be kind of laying off of them. So interesting.
Give it a year.
Right. It just reminded me of it. If you are interested in Ocarina of Time on the PC, I would get, it's called Ship of Harkinian. Go get it now before it's gone. They have made it intentionally obscure and obtuse ways to download it and install it. So yeah, but it's the game reverse engineered and recompiled for Windows, working natively directly in Windows. It's an executable, and it's highly moddable. And there's a huge community around it that is getting mods up and running for it now. So really cool. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick while we're on the subject of Zelda and its derivatives.
If I can say one more thing
please.
on the Zelda movie here, we just off the cuff came up with, I think, six excellent ideas. Yep. The thing that worries me most about the Zelda live action Zelda movie, I mean, besides how Andy talked about how do you build tension with a supposed quiet protagonist, is if this bombs and it doesn't do well, that it's going to scare Nintendo right back into the cave, and we're never going to get anything close to those wonderful ideas we just talked about a few minutes ago, and that the video game movie curse still lies in full. Like that, it's not a curse when you keep just doing things. So I don't know. That's what worries me most about it is that this will just scare Nintendo back into like, nah, we're not going to make a movie for another 15 years now. So none of those properties we talked
Here's
about.
what I'm going to do. Given their success and risk and attempt at making a Mario movie and it going over well, when the Zelda movie comes out, I will go watch it.
Yep.
I will give them the monetary support the one time, be like, hey, you're trying. And then if it's bad, I'm going to tear into it, and then I'm not going to give them any more money. Yeah. If it's great, awesome.
I look forward to it. I think that there are plenty of people out there smarter than me that can make a good Zelda movie. I have no doubt about it. I don't have faith that that's going to be the case. But you know what? Maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised. And I think we talk about this often. We shit on stuff pretty frequently, but also, we
don't want it to be bad.
We don't want it to be bad. So
we want it to be good.
Yeah, we do want it to be good. Hopefully it is. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about Zelda-wise?
Save keys to open doors.
Always save keys to open doors. All right. Well, then, if you are not big into Warcraft,
thank you for listening.
That's the one. Because the next, I don't know how long, is going to be Warcraft coverage because, good Lord, there's a lot. Now, I'm going to try and keep it brief. I'm not going to be covering every new aspect of everything that came out because there is a lot. There were, let's see, 3 expansion announcements and 2 new-ish kind of sort of game announcements for Warcraft. Let's go ahead and get started with the most obvious. World of Warcraft Cataclysm is known to be the change from what is considered classic WoW to modern World of Warcraft. Nobody was quite sure if Blizzard was going to do a World of Warcraft Cataclysm Classic. This has been now confirmed that they are going ahead with World of Warcraft Cataclysm Classic. They're not going to continue to have Wrath of the Lich King Classic persistent servers. They will be replaced by the Cataclysm servers, much like they already did with the Burning Crusade servers. So as we traveled through Azeroth in Classic and then got towards the end there, we got BC Classic. We then ported our characters over, did all of BC, and then we ported those over, did Wrath. Looks like we're doing the same thing with Cataclysm. Now, as Classic games have gone on, a la Classic, which the theme there was no changes. We got Classic essentially as it was in one of the world's favorite patches, and we played all the way through it. Burning Crusade had a few quality of life changes that they implemented throughout the expansion. Wrath of the Lich King Classic is the least of its former self in that they did make a lot of changes to the game, especially in how much content there was. Now, they did use existing content and essentially recycled it in new difficulty dungeons. One thing they did to make sure that players at any time could jump into Wrath Classic and be able to play and to be able to experience the end game was they gave several tiers to dungeons during the run of Wrath of the Lich King Classic. There were not only just your basic dungeons and then heroic dungeons and then dungeons that came out sequentially via patches. They did alpha, beta, and gamma dungeons. So in the first season, they came out with alpha dungeons. Those were harder heroic dungeons. Next season was beta, which were even more difficult, but also changed the way a lot of the enemies and bosses worked. Even the path you take within dungeons changed for some of the dungeons. So it changed the meta quite a bit. And then with the most recent release for Wrath Classic, they brought in Gamma dungeons, which are nearly like heroic raid difficulty in their difficulty, and they give fairly equivalent rewards. They give you rewards of the previous patch's heroic raid. So it does look like they're going to be following that same formula in Cataclysm. The interesting, or I guess not necessarily interesting, one of the points of, or one of the contentious issues of Cataclysm was that the dungeons on release were way too difficult. Cataclysm dungeons, when they first came out, introduced a lot of mechanics that had only been seen inside raids and especially heroic raids. And one of the issues players had with those early dungeons is a lot of players could not complete them. It'll be interesting to see if they really are going to make those raids that much more difficult on every new patch that comes out for it. But it'll be interesting, to say the least. They also did mention during their panel that they will be implementing additional changes on top of just the dungeon scaling, that this was going to be quite a bit different than the classic or than the original Cataclysm expansion. So
I don't see why they would keep unnecessarily hard dungeons at launch. You're already scaring away some of your classic player base by removing Wrath of the Lich King and putting in the most contentious Warcraft expansion. Don't also scare away new players because your dungeons are too damn hard.
Yeah.
So I doubt they'll do that.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, they're staying relatively close to the chest with a lot of their changes. They did have a good panel on it. If you want to get more information, I of course will have trailers, panels, the entirety of the BlizzCon opening ceremony, etc. All of those links will be in the show notes. So make sure you check the blog at videogametango.com for all that stuff. If you want some real deep dives, like we're talking an hour and a half wrap sessions with developers. So on top of on top of Cataclysm Classic, we have another version of Classic being launched. This one very soon. Cataclysm Classic is going to be coming on August 21st, 2024, on or before that date. The other classic that I want to talk about is being called Season of Discovery. WoW Classic has been extremely successful, like way more successful than Blizzard ever could have thought. Not only was Classic Vanilla extremely popular and still is to this day, people are playing on those Classic era servers like they just came out. Mm-hmm. We're talking server populations of 25,000 plus players on the Meteor servers, and with like 5,000 to 6,000 you on average playing at any given time. Concurrent players on the larger servers for Classic are huge. Then they added Classic Hardcore, which is in its name, you get one life. If your character dies, it's permadeath.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. But the popularity of that just exploded, especially with OTK jumping in and having their Mock Garra tournament, which was a level 60 tournament for $100,000, a PvP tournament that they held a couple weeks ago.
I know what Mock Garra is now.
Yes. Duel to the death. So Blizzard is just absolutely honing in on what the Classic players have been saying, and Classic players for years now have been asking for Classic Plus. It seems that Season of Discovery is going to be the Classic Plus. So let's dive into that real quick. In Season of Discovery, players will discover new secrets by scouring Azeroth to find class-altering abilities. Tanking warlocks, mage healers, and more will be possible. I'm going to have a video playing for you guys that are live and checking out the YouTube. But yeah, we're talking about drastic changes to classes, and I'll talk about how that works in a little bit here. Upon reaching, so it's got a level cap of 25, and upon reaching max level, players will be met with a new level 25 endgame. Discover a 10-player Black Fathoms Deep, which used to be a dungeon in Classic, raid, with new and reimagined bosses, mechanics, and rewards. They did play this live on BlizzCon. They had a bunch of World of Warcraft streamers run this dungeon live, and I did watch that. It's actually pretty cool stuff.
Very cool.
So not long after, though, the level cap will be increased by a few levels, bringing even more endgame content. So they are, while they are recycling assets, they aren't so much recycling content.
Very cool.
Yeah, Black Fathom Deeps is very different. It has raid level mechanics in it, and it's a 10-man raid rather than a dungeon. Big changes happening to character classes, which I'll get into soon, were very interesting to watch as some of the world's best World of Warcraft players were trying to figure out these raid bosses. As players progress through Season of Discovery, they will find class-altering abilities in the form of runes. Some of these runes I've got up on screen right now. You can read how they might very well change how your class plays. These runes will alter spells or grant new abilities that allow classes to do things they haven't before, or to augment their current abilities and spells to do something entirely different. This even includes runes that are inspired by later expansions, granting classes abilities that have never been seen in earlier iterations of World of Warcraft. So, Classic Plus, or Season of Discovery as it's known, takes place on Classic Azeroth, but pre-sundering, essentially vanilla. But as you play through the game, you discover through either finding or achieving new runes. These runes are meant to be engraved on specific item slots in your gear, and change fundamentally sometimes how your class plays.
That's cool.
There is a melee priest, healing, so essentially a war cleric. There is a shaman tank. There is a rogue evasion tank. There's even a warlock tank who goes, which people have been asking for a long time. It turns into a demon and becomes a tank for you. That solves the issue of the only real viable tanks in Classic truly being warriors. But it also grants some other stuff, like it makes healers out of mages, that one, and does some pretty interesting stuff. This is stuff that I've talked about at length that I wouldn't mind seeing in World of Warcraft, and this is a way to do it in like such a non-permanent way that they can't change things. So these aren't inherent class abilities, these are earned class abilities, and sometimes will be changed through seasons. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this works as things progress, especially considering now the ultra utility of some classes. Like, we now have classes that are effectively going to be like effectively 5 different.
I was just wondering what the meta on some of these is going to be.
It's going to be crazy. Like, it's going to be weird thinking that, the mage's alter time heal ability, which reverses damage done after the fact, is going to play into how dungeons and raids are done, right? So it's interesting. I think this is some of the more interesting news that came out of World of Warcraft's panels. I think this is kind of what everybody has been asking for in the Classic Plus era. There's a little bit of contention between your ultra purists that wanted to see new content happen after level 60 and people that wanted to play on Classic Azeroth with changes made to characters. I think this implementation, at the very least, is very interesting.
It's definitely interesting and novel seeming, like definitely a new spin.
Yeah.
A new spin. And it feels like if this keeps going, that they can, like you said, season to season, a lot of these things can change, and that new feeling can be retained a little bit longer.
Yeah, and it adds a level of meta progression that the game didn't have previously.
Yeah,
which is I think that's neat. So for classic players and just I think gamers alike, I think this is a cool change to WoW that I for one am going to explore. I'm not huge on classic vanilla. I loved the game at the time. I played it again when it came out, but it was the same experience again. And as far as going back and playing those old expansions, I love them for their novelty. I love them for the nostalgia trip. Do I stay with them for very long? Not usually. I usually hit level cap. I get some gear. I experience most of the content, and then I kind of drop it. This is new. Like, it's actually truly new. The only things that are really going to be staying the same are the locales. And for me, that's like I said, at the very least, it's very interesting. So I'll be interested to see what happens. Now, another really interesting thing is they're not going to have a PTR on this. The reason is they have been working on this nonstop now for quite some time, and they are almost ready for launch. They're throwing this thing at us at the end of the month. This comes out November 30th.
Wow.
Yeah, really surprising on that timeline, but apparently it's something that's been in the works for quite some time. So it turns out that Blizzard has been listening and working on this for the last couple of years, and now they're ready for the world to see it. So I'm excited by this. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I don't know that it's going to be good. Maybe I won't like it because it lacks the feeling of classic World of Warcraft. But at the very least, it's Blizzard doing something new with World of Warcraft.
Nice to see them shake things up.
Yeah, it is. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Hopefully it's good. So, but we'll see. We'll see. Well, I mean, we literally get to check this out at the end of the month. The last little bit of news from Warcraft. We're getting a new expansion. Now, everybody expected we would be getting a new expansion.
I feel like Dragonflight just came out.
No, Dragonflight is over a year old now.
Okay.
Or at least it is a year old now.
Yeah,
By the
okay.
time the new expansion comes out, it will be over 2 years old.
All right.
Yeah. So not only did we get a new expansion announcement called The War Within, we got a trilogy announcement. This is going to be known as the World Soul Saga. So Chris Metzen took the stage again, his first trip into the public as the head of the lore team for World of Warcraft again.
War Chief.
Yeah, our war chief. And said effectively, this is what his plans were before he left the company, and this is what we're getting now is he's fixing Azeroth. So, Chris Metzen delighted fans of World of Warcraft with an announcement of not one, but 3 new expansions for the retail version of World of Warcraft, starting with the subterranean expansion, The War Within, which takes us deeper into Azeroth than ever before. This expansion includes new zones, Aj-Kahet, Isle of Dorn, the Ringing Deeps, and Hallowfall. New dungeons, raids, and a new battleground, which I'll get into that in a second, and a new allied race playable to both the Alliance and the Horde, the Earthen Dwarves. Along with the new zones to explore, it also comes with all new hero talents, which is a separate talent system from the original talent system. So it is going to be its own talent system between your base talents and your specialization talents, because that's how they have them separated currently. All the talents will be able to be unlocked in the hero talent system by the time you hit level cap of the War Within, and drastically, in some ways, change how your character works.
That's awesome. I like getting to pick stuff at every level when I
Yes.
level up.
Yep.
That, like, when I get a new bit or bob every time, yay.
Now, when I say that every talent will be available to you at the level cap, what that means is you will have all talent pips, okay, unlocked. However, within those talent pips come some choices. So in some talents, you have a choice between 3 talents. Like at a level, 73, you have a choice between 3 talents. What they have promised is that these talents you will be able to change them on the fly as long as you are outside of combat. So there is going to be a level of granularity in the World of Warcraft talent system for the War Within and going on through this trilogy that we really haven't seen ever. There's already more talent choices than ever, and they're bringing more in with the hero system. So it's really nice that we're getting addition to an already existing system rather than a whole new system that is borrowed power like we've been getting essentially for every expansion since the Battle of Azeroth. Because even Legion, they've been giving us borrowed power. You get a weapon that you power throughout an entire expansion. New expansion comes out, that thing is useless. My paladin is wielding Ashbringer. Doesn't work anymore. Shamans, they've got Doomhammer. Doesn't work anymore, right? So it's always sad to see those things go. In Battle for Azeroth, you had the Azerite items and items that really affected how your character operated. That was borrowed power. As soon as Shadowlands came out, they were gone. So nice to see something that is going to be persistent being implemented back into World of Warcraft, something that you earn, something that you get to keep, and something that is important to class fantasy again. Glad to see that. The World Soul Saga has 2 additional expansions titled Midnight and The Last Titan, respectively. Not much has been announced about these 2 expansions other than the World of Warcraft team is dedicated to bringing out all 3 of these expansions in a much quicker cadence than we've seen expansions launch in the past. So not only did they announce 3 expansions, they said they will be coming much faster than previous expansion releases have happened. Chris Metzen also addressed that they will have multiple large patches in each of these expansions as well. Because that was everybody's fear, is that instead of an expansion lasting a year or 2, with multiple large expansions expanding what happens in an expansion, we'd be getting it was essentially a money grab where it was going to be expansion after expansion after expansion. He says no, that there will still be game-changing patches dropped within each expansion that deliver more content, raids, potentially new battlegrounds. Now, going back to battlegrounds, we are getting a new one. That's awesome. It's the first time we've got a new battleground since fucking Legion.
Let's say that's exciting.
It's really exciting. PvPers have been just completely ignored for so long, and now we're actually getting a new battleground. That's awesome. They've also come out with a new thing called Delves. Delves are
Dark Elves.
they are their own content. You will be able to, while you are exploring these new zones, and apparently also on old Azeroth, you will potentially be able to go into an instanced off location called Delves. These Delves work a lot like dungeons, where a lot of them have random trash mobs. They lead you to a boss. That boss drops good loot. This is supposed to be essentially for those that have a hard time getting groups together or are a little bit more antisocial. This is a good way for you to play the game, because not only can they be played with a group, they can also be soloed, and it scales according to the party size. Not only that, but they won't be all combat focused. Chris Metzen said some of them will be without combat. They will be world puzzles to solve in the Delve. So getting good loot, or like dungeon plus equivalent loot in something that doesn't require you to be in constant combat. Also neat. So it feels like they're catering to another audience without taking away from their core, which is something that I think can be celebrated. One last thing, and I promise. Go ahead, please.
That honestly, for me as a player who I felt like you had to stick up for little brother in the dungeon there when I wasn't throwing out things correctly. That feels like practice mode, baby, where I can get in there and I can feel like I'm in the dungeon, but no one's gonna make fun of me until I get my dots up. And
listen, man, I never make fun of you for not getting your dots up.
Colin would.
That's true, but he's a real life warlock, just not as cool. So yeah, that was Delves. They're also releasing something called war bands. You will be able to create war bands with other characters, or with multiple of your other characters. What this is going to allow distribution of loot between multiple characters. It's going to be allowing reputation gains, simultaneous reputation gains within the warband. So you do not have to get exalted with every faction on every one of your characters for all the things that you want to accomplish. So shared reputation gains, also a shared bank, and more. So a lot of quality of life features coming out in warbands.
Cool.
They are going to limit it, so it isn't going to be your entire character set, being that now you can have well over 100 characters. So they're going to limit it to, I believe it's 10. So you can have 10 of your characters in a warband. And you can also move them in and out as necessary. So it seems like it's while you are artificially limited, it does feel like it's pretty easy to swap in, swap out if you need to. So if you decide, like, I am never going to be playing my level 87 priest again, and I really like my max level shaman, let's bring him into the warband. It sounds like that's something you're going to be able to do with relative ease. So huge quality of life improvement with not having to grind out, especially with the borrowed power stuff of previous expansions. You no longer have to grind all of it out on all of your characters. And one thing that they mentioned quite frequently is they lost track of really respecting players' time, and they want to get back to respecting players' time, which I think is a noble endeavor. At the very least, is respecting your time and making sure that it's full of the good fun stuff, not the rigmarole, not the I have to get my dailies done mentality of modern
grinding
MMOs.
for grind's sake.
Yeah. Because you know what didn't happen in classic World of Warcraft? While there was grinding, it always led to character progression.
Let's be careful there.
Well, I believe it always
colored glasses. Classic
I've
was
played
grinding a lot of
yes,
everything.
absolutely it was. Absolutely.
I
was.
don't mind a little grind as long as it's like for something. But I mean, just the sake of grinding. Though. When you then this is just a thing, like a perfunctory thing that we have because we've always had it, and it's like, well,
but compound that with as many expansions as WoW has, it's a good change. Yeah. It's a good change. So awesome on Blizzard. I like the trailer just straight up, the War Within trailer just straight up made me cry. Check that out. I think it's one of their best done trailers ever. It's probably their least exciting trailer that they've ever put out. It didn't give you the same fucking, butterflies that Sylvanas screaming for the Horde did in the Battle for Azeroth trailer, but it was deep and thoughtful and fixed Anduin. So that's good. That is it, gentlemen, for me. As far as BlizzCon goes, do you have more questions?
Thing on BlizzCon there. So how much of this do you think is Xbox juice in it or Microsoft juice in it?
Very little.
Very little. Do you think this was all like being held and so that they could just after the Microsoft purchase news, that they get to have a big punch to back this up with?
So Bobby Kotick himself has said that they've kept all of their Xbox had nothing to do with the events happening at BlizzCon. This has been in the works pre-acquisition news, and they weren't sharing their industry secrets with Microsoft until they were plans were set, because before this they were competitors. So he did say that as much as they love the guys over at Xbox, They have to make sure that their board is happy, and their board would not be happy with them sharing all of their news with a competitor. So this isn't Xbox's influence. Phil Spencer did take the mic for a minute to introduce himself, but he also took the mic just to let the players know, like, hey, I'm not here to change everything you know and love about your Blizzard games. He's like, we're happy to have them on our team. They're going to be a huge part of, of how Xbox and Microsoft is seen going forward. But he did say that he really doesn't have any plans to be like hands-on with Activision Blizzard. Makes sense. Activision Blizzard is wildly successful. Despite all of their issues that they've had recently, they still make a dickload of fucking money.
Yes,
so
these are a lot of exciting changes that seem to be kind of community based and directed towards community. I mean, sure, they're still going to make a fuck ton of money, but it does seem that it's more about invigorating old players who have been playing for a while and trying to lure in some new ones to try out. Hey, maybe you've been gone a while. Come on back and give this new thing a try.
Yeah.
So it does feel nice, and it's cool to know that influence was already rolling at Blizzard. So hopefully Microsoft can just give it a push downhill.
Yeah, maybe so. It does look like Xbox just wants them to be successful, and honestly, with the changes they've made to the structure of the company, Bobby Kotick being ousted, apparently he was the man that said no. The problematic people that they had in the offices previously, they're gone. With bringing back the old guard for story and lore purposes for Warcraft going forward, with the fact that Phil Spencer says that he would really love to see new StarCraft IP coming out, and that he was not going to say no to more StarCraft. Those are all promising things. We have yet to see how that's going to play out. This is all brand new. But I think there is hope for Activision Blizzard going forward. Hopefully.